was, this came back to where it evolved, and Lorraine sort of hinted towards this and you did, was I was relatively new to Twitter back in July. Like, I'd been on for already a year, but I hadn't done anything, and it was Stephen Jagger who, when I interviewed him for my podcast, he kind of beat it into me that I needed to get on it. And Steve can be kind of convincing somewhat. And so he's much larger than me, so I agreed, I would tweet. And so, but when I got on, I noticed, like, I made a comment, and I won't mention this particular CBC announcer, but they kind of jumped on me. And they said, you shouldn't retweet this, and you shouldn't, and this is how you should do things. And I thought, wow, so you've got all these followers, and I'm going to use Twitter as an example, I'll go back to blogging, but, and I don't. And you've been here first, you've got your crowd, you've decided this is how the party should run. But maybe mom and auntie were at the party earlier, but I show up and I want the party to be different. And what I see the early adopters is, yeah, it's great, but one of the worst things you can do for business and marketing advice is ask early adopters how to use the tools to make money. So I'm just going to go around that too, because it's more, I hate to say it, but most early adopters tend to be a little bit more socialist. Maybe a little, not excuse me, I'm one of them, but what I'm saying, believe it or not, I'm a total socialist. And so I'm social, I'm not a socialist. But the point is that there's a certain attitude towards etiquette, or even how you should market, or how advertising should be used.
It's the shoulds.
It's the shoulds. And what I see is, I think it's stratification. I think it's, I got here first, and now I'm going to build a fence around it so I can position myself. And so my thoughts are, we've got to be careful between what good social etiquette is and what stratification is. And that's my issue, because I think there's a lot of stratification that goes on. So I think from my perspective is that there are some different social etiquettes. I'll just go through them really quick, what I believe, and then we can all throw it out. Okay, Facebook. A lot of people were never involved in social networking until they hit Facebook. That includes, my niece or my aunt. Different ends of the spectrum. And that's how they learned social etiquette, is most of it on Facebook. So it's okay to put a picture of you throwing up in the toilet on the internet to share with the world. It's okay if you have a friend adding contest with your best, someone in the office, even though you don't know them. That's the social etiquette of Facebook. But the social etiquette of LinkedIn is totally different. LinkedIn is credible people with networks that trust them, connecting with other credible people with networks that trust them, and then vetting relationships that way. Okay, so now Twitter is it's a totally about,
it's a cocktail party.
Yeah, it's a cocktail party, exactly. And it's like, here I am, I'm on a pedestal, follow me, right? and I'll follow you, and it's very loose and quick.
It's tightening up though.
Pardon?
It's tightening up though.
It's tightening up somewhat. I think the only level that it's tightening up is that people just want relevant dialogue and not people who don't understand bidirectionality.
I have to disagree there.
What?
The unfollow all movement, which started about 60 days ago,
Yep.
was deliberately to reestablish elites. Because
Is that a good thing?
the early adopters, everybody knew who they were.
Yep.
Now there are 13 million people on Twitter, thanks to Oprah and Ashton and all his ass if I ever see him. But I would love to see that.
Can I film it?
I would love film
I will film it.
She will film it. I would love to see that. That would probably that.
So I guess can I just before I just finish my thought here. So I think what's rolling back is that we separate social etiquette from social media etiquette. But I think a big part of social platforms is still community leadership. And I think the real social etiquette is, no matter where we're at, is displaying good community leadership skills, regardless of what platform we're on, whether we're here right now in person or on Twitter. And I think people think that because I'm on the internet, there's no repercussions, or I can act different. But I think that at the end of the day, it comes back to bite us.
So what do you define as good social community leadership then? What's your definition?
It's going to be, and I'm going to go steal from Seth Godin from Tribes, it's not about really appealing to everybody, but it's about having a collective group of people with similar values, beliefs, or goals, and you resonating with them and being true to that. So within Twitter, there's going to be thousands of communities that resonate with one another, and they're not going to follow you, but they're going to follow you, and they're going to follow you and me because we both like to drink, or whatever else it is, right? And so, but I think that's what people have got to remember, is I think there's the social etiquette is still about humans, but there are certain platforms that have protocols too. And I guess my big beef was, of course, when I started off with is I saw not etiquette, but stratification. Like you talk about there, is it, and that's back to what you're saying. I don't think I'm done.
Okay, so but on that though, so you're talking about I have to stand? I'm the moderator. Do I have to stand?
No.
Okay. He says no, so.
We're establishing new norms. Do whatever you
Yeah,
want.
right next down, I'm uncomfortable. You're talking about social community leadership and how, and this is the whole conversation that I had, again, one more time, on Twitter. This is the social etiquette panel, bracket Twitter. You know, we were talking about the whole replies bullshit and what they did. Is anybody not on Twitter? Oh, okay. Two. Okay. Needless to say, what happened was Twitter used to be able to allow you to follow, like you could follow anybody you wanted, and you would see everyone's replies, and that ended up in a kind of disjointed conversation. But you got used to it, and you could turn that off, you could turn it on, and it was awesome, fabulous. And apparently, only 3% of the world, or 3% of the Twitter world, used that feature, and that was a feature that I used a lot to find new people and to find people that I was interested in. And somebody random would say something that I had like, wait a second, what is he talking about? And it found out that wow, he's cool. Okay, so we'll go follow him, and oh look, he follows her, and it became this like down the rat's nest, friggin' link sharing,
But in a more positive way.
yeah, in a happy up into the clouds rainbow kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Hush. My point is that when we were talking about the fact when the replies went sideways, my point was, screw this, Twitter needs a community manager. Because they sort of unleashed this torrent of, we're going to do this and screw you all, and it's what it's going to be. And people came back to me and said, wait a minute, Twitter's not a community. So what you're saying about community leadership is that you've got your community, I've got mine, Raul's got his, Lorraine's got hers.
And they overlap.
You know, they do overlap.
But again, I think that
But then who's the leader?
back to Jeremy, there is no leader, like of the whole thing. I think that the fact is that Twitter is not a community. Twitter is a community building tool. LinkedIn is not a community. LinkedIn is a leadership and community building tool. Facebook's not a community. I think it's a community building tool.
You know,
I think that's my opinion.
I see Twitter, and I used to have it in my Twitter, profile. I said, Twitter is my playground. Like for me, Twitter was the way I created relationships with 60% of the people that are in YouTube, right? You know, it was my playground. I did not make any income from social media up until I started doing a project in social media, but you know, it was just this
But
place.
you found that project in social media through Twitter.
Yes.
So,
See, there
but
we go.
I still think that it's just a tool. I think that friend feed could be seen as just a tool, or it could be seen as a community. I think your blog, Raul, initially was just a tool, and you developed a community using it. But it's really about the thought leader connected to it.
Well, that's true of any platform.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, is that it's a tool. And
It's a big tent. I picture Twitter as this huge convention center. And if you put your settings right, you can hear what everyone in that place is saying. You just have to follow everyone.
So from an etiquette perspective, I guess why it's important to me as a marketer, because I go back to the fact that I'm super social and I like to organize events and parties, and I don't have a problem wherever I go typically meeting new friends. I know, and offending people too, equally.
That's important.
but-
It gets you followers.
Exactly, get you followers. But my point is that so why I would use these tools is that I'm able to leverage myself. So I can build one relationship at a time where I can connect with, she hates the word, but I can connect with a thought leader like Jeremiah Ao Yang, where I wrote a blog entry and he went, hey, I said, Jeremiah, I put this together and I knew the etiquette and we got dialogue, and he retweeted it and built a link to it. Next thing you know it,